Carlos and Elisa planned a lovely holiday with their son Manny in the Netherlands. They were all excited, as it was the first proper vacation they were going on as a family. Once they were at their seats, Carlos sat down and closed his eyes, trying to get some sleep. Manny, however, didn't want to sit still yet. He was excited to be on the plane and wanted to see the cockpit. The last passengers were boarding, and the flight crew was about to get ready, but the pilots were happy to show Manny the cockpit quickly. While her son was getting a little tour, Elisa decided to go to the toilet before they would take off. She closed her eyes and took a few deep breaths as she felt the plane move. Eventually, the plane reached altitude and she opened her eyes again to look beside her. But when she did, her heart skipped a beat. Elisa's eyes widened in shock as she saw the empty seat between her husband and the window. She shook Carlos awake. "Where is Manny?" she asked him, her tone tinged with panic and fear. Carlos awoke grumpily and was confused by her question. "What do you mean?" "He was with you," he said. When they finally asked the flight attendant, they had to accept that he wasn't on board. "Where did he go?" They couldn't do anything from here. Her mind was spinning, but then Carlos grabbed her by the shoulders. "No point in panicking," he said, trying to sound confident. He then explained they could use the flight time to research and ensure they have a plan ready for the moment they land. And so, when they finally arrived at their destination, the parents didn't waste any time. The moment they had service, Carlos called the American police to inform them of what had happened. Meanwhile, Elisa called airport security to figure out what happened with their son, and they had something very surprising to share. The security officer explained that they had quickly found Manny based on the parents' description. They followed the boy on the footage, hoping they would notice anything to help them find him. Where would he go? But the security officer couldn't help them further, as Manny disappeared from their cameras after leaving. Now, Carlos and Elisa had done everything they could from their remote location, and it was vital for them to fly back as soon as possible. They bought tickets for the first flight back, which would fly the following morning. They entered the plane fatigued, and it had felt like the flight took a lifetime, but eventually they arrived back at the place where it all went wrong. Even during the flight, neither Carlos nor Elisa had heard anything from the police. But then Elisa got a surprising phone call from her mother. "Manny is here," Grandma said to share the surprising news. Both parents were in disbelief. Their son was at his grandmother's house? How did he get there? Why did he show up there after disappearing for 2 days? The parents drove to Grandma's house as fast as possible. They burst through the door and ran toward Manny. When Elisa embraced him, she couldn't hold back her tears as she felt a wave of relief come over her. Elisa broke her long embrace and looked at her son. Her gaze was stern but filled with love. "Where have you been? Why did you leave the airport? Please tell me what happened," she rambled. The boy explained that when the pilots finished giving him the tour, he left the cockpit and was surprised to see his mother leave the plane. This confused him very much as he thought the plane would soon leave, so he decided to follow her. But before Manny could continue his story, Elisa interrupted him. She was shocked to hear this. "I didn't leave the plane." "How could you think that?" she said. Manny's answer only caused her to be more confused. Elisa apologized to her son and, with newfound curiosity, encouraged him to continue his story. Manny explained that he was confused by his mother's actions. Why would she leave so close to the departure? There was still quite some distance between them, and Manny was slowly losing hope of catching up. He had screamed for his mother a few times, but she didn't seem to hear him. But then his mother suddenly stood still beside a trash can and seemed to put something inside. Now, his mother was standing still. He could catch up, but she resumed her journey before he could reach her. Manny wanted to follow, but as he passed the trash can, he looked inside, and his eyes grew wide. "This must be an accident," he mumbled. He quickly grabbed the item and resumed his chase. The chase eventually led him out of the airport, where he could finally catch up to his mother. She seemed to have slowed down since she was outside the airport and looking around. "Mom," he yelled at her as he approached, but still no reaction. So he decided to pull her arm. "Why did you leave the plane? Where are you going?" "Why would you throw this away?" Manny rambled to his mother, slightly out of breath after the long chase. But as the woman turned around, his breath halted and his eyes widened. This woman wasn't his mother. It was a complete stranger. He cleared his throat. "You lost this," he said as he handed it over to the strange woman. But the scared and confused expression was dwarfed by the woman's expression. When she looked at the flash drive in the boy's hand, her face turned pale, and her eyes frantically shot around. After a momentary silence, she grabbed the drive and thanked Manny before taking off in a hurry. Did his mother even leave the plane? He looked around to try and figure out where he should go. Manny's heart was pounding at this point and he anxiously looked at her. Then, the woman grabbed his arm and pulled him with her. "Come with me," she said in a low but direct voice. The woman was still looking around frantically and seemed very nervous. She eventually managed to stop a cab and urged Manny to get inside. The boy didn't want to get in any more trouble, so he listened obediently, but once inside he mustered all his courage. "What do you want from me?" "I want to protect you." You put us in a tough spot. I'm an undercover cop, and I was dropping off information for my team." The woman explained she put vital information on the flash drive that needed to be shared with her team within the police force. She had arranged to drop off at the airport, but she missed it because Manny took the drive with him. When she tried to return the drive, she saw criminals watching the trash can. The gang she infiltrated probably discovered she was undercover and was now looking for her. She didn't think they saw her, but she couldn't be sure. That also means that they may be looking for you if they saw us together, the undercover agent said seriously. "I'm sorry," Manny eventually brought out, tears forming in his eyes. But the woman told him not to worry. Every undercover agent was prepared for such a scenario, and she would take him to a safe house. "Nothing is going to happen to you," she said. And Manny felt like he could trust her. Once there, the woman called her team from the police, which responded immediately and arrived not much later. When the whole team was present, the woman shared the information on the flash drive, and the team was very impressed with the content. The team then discussed their plan, which would be a little different now that the woman's cover was blown and they didn't have a person on the inside. But after putting their heads together, they figured out a way to raid the gang's headquarters. So, the next day, the team prepared and took action. Due to the undercover agent's intricate knowledge, the raid was a success, and all the criminals that were after her and Manny were arrested. The police took their time to ensure every single one of the gang members was taken into custody, as they didn't want to return Manny to his family before they knew it would be safe. But once he got the green light, the woman volunteered to bring him back to his family. Because Manny thought his parents would still be gone, he asked the police officer to bring him to his grandma's house. "And that's how I ended up here," he finished. Parents gazed at each other in astonishment and didn't know what to say. All in all, they were happy he was safely back home. After that, the family returned home from a tumultuous trip. It hadn't worked out as they had planned, but they still had a few weeks of free time. So, in the following weeks, the family enjoyed a stay-at-home vacation.